Hey everyone, it's Vicki again. We are looking at, this is the second video. The first video I showed you how to set up and make your design in Cricut Design Space. And this is video number 2, making the design on permanent vinyl. Some people use Oracle 651. I use Scissor Easy Weed because it's just easy. So we've already made it in Design Space, and that was covered in the first video. So now we're going to click Make It, and then it spirals around a little bit, and then you can see my design has loaded onto so you can see what it would look like on the actual mat that's going through the Cricut. If you look at the top here, you see a red line that goes down. That's your edging, and I don't like to be on that, so I move it a little bit away from there so I don't have to worry about that. When you're using permanent vinyl, you do not need to mirror the image. The next video I'm going to talk to you about using heat transfer vinyl, and that's when you will use the mirror option. So we're going to click continue to make it. It'll swirl around for a few minutes as it's loading into the machine, and then it comes up like this. Number 1, you want to set your material to vinyl and check and make sure that it's set to vinyl, which it is. Load your tools and mat, so that's what I will do now. So as you can see, it's loaded in, and the cut button is flashing, so I'm going to press that, and it will begin to cut out my design. Okay, and it's done, and I'm going to eject it out. And then we come, you can see the design is on here. And we come to the point where we have to weed it. Okay, so what I like to do is just get this smaller, so I cut this piece off the edge of it. And what we're going to do first is we're going to do what we call weeding. And that is simply just taking out the stuff that doesn't need to be in there. So I do all the oval things first, like on the 8, the small part of the E. And sometimes it sticks to each other, so you have to be careful. The D, and then the rest of the ovals. Once I've done all of the oval areas, then I go back and I get the areas loosened up that have to come in a little bit, like this eye is connected, so I try to lift that up a little bit and then bring my scissors in and snip that, so that it doesn't cause the dot on the eye to get lost when we peel it back, and you'll see what I mean when we do that. So I'm just loosening everything up so that it peels out a little easier. So now I have all those pieces loosened up, and then I find a spot here where I can split this into 2 sides. And once you have it split into 2 sides, it becomes much easier to weed. And so then you just peel this back. Comes off quite easy. Yeah, it's called Easy Weed. So now we have left what we want to put on the album. And The next step is to put some, I use contact paper. Some people use Cricut transfer paper, which is really expensive. Contact paper works just fine. So you cut the contact paper to the size that you need it for this, and then you just peel it off the backing and lay it on top of your wording. You only worry about sticking it to the wording. And then I take the blunt end of my tool and I go over the letters and numbers here just to make sure it's sticking to the contact paper. And then you're going to lift it off of your mat. I turn mine upside down then. And you want to peel the scissor paper off of it so that just your letters are left. And you'll see, like right here, the end didn't want to come off like it should, so you can just pick it like that. But most of the time it just peels right off. And see, because I did that little snip by the eye, then that's peeling off really nicely. But that one did not. So I'll just have to go back and find the dot for my eye here as soon as I get the E off. It's probably on my mat here somewhere. Okay, so now we're ready to put this on the spine of the album. And the first thing that I do is I take the spine, match the color ends. I know it's hard to see on here, but where the color ends, not necessarily where the ends are, but match those two ends together to find the middle, crease it a little, and then you're going to put it on the 5, because this is 10 and a little bit, it's 10 inches long. So 5 is in the middle, and I kind of stick it down to my mat because, as you can see, these like to move. And I could try to flatten them as much as possible. Then I'm going to take my label and I'm going to crease it in the middle. So I'm matching up the letter ends together so that I can crease it in the middle. So I do that in the middle, the top, and the bottom. So I know where the middle of the wording is, not necessarily where the middle of the tape is. And then this back on here. Then I take that middle crease and I put it right in the middle that I've marked on the album. Okay, and so we're getting it down there, and then we're taking our tool and rubbing it on. And then once we're peeling it back, if we keep it close to where we're working, like bending it back on each other, then it peels off really nicely. Sometimes it sticks, like here, and we just have to bring it back down, hold on to it with our tool, peel it off. So now at this point we don't use our tool anymore, and I just take my finger and just rub down on this really good. Oops, sorry about that. All right, and then we have the spine and the album now, and that's what it looks like.